Today, we will meet one of the most ruthless men in history. Genghis Khan is considered to be one of the most brutal conquerors of all time. His armies were responsible for some of the most heinous acts of violence. But what made him become who he was? What were his darkest quotes? Let's find out. Who was he? Temujin was born in 1162 in the Mongolian steppe. His father was a chieftain of a small tribe, while his mother was the daughter of a rival chieftainess. As a child, Temujin experienced many hardships, including the death of his father and the enslavement of his family. However, he managed to escape and reunite with his family. He then began to build a reputation as a fierce warrior and eventually united the nomadic tribes of Mongolia under his banner. He took the title of Genghis Khan, which means ocean or righteous. Genghis Khan and his followers practiced a form of shamanism, Tengriism, which is a Central Asian religion based on belief in a supreme sky deity. Genghis Khan was also influenced by Buddhist and Muslim thinkers, although he did not adhere to any organized religion. After unifying the Mongols, Genghis Khan set his sights on world domination. He led his armies on a series of military campaigns that took them from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe. Along the way, he founded the Mongol Empire, which at its peak encompassed all of modern-day Mongolia, as well as parts of China, Central Asia, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. Genghis Khan was a brilliant military strategist, and his armies were known for their brutality and efficiency. He was also a skilled politician and diplomat, and he was able to forge alliances with other tribes and nations in order to further his own interests. Genghis Khan died in 1227, being wounded in a battle with the Chinese. He left behind a legacy of blood and fire, but also one of empire and cultural exchange. His empire would continue to grow after his death, and would eventually encompass all of Eurasia. What were his 4 most brutal quotes? 1. If your enemy is taking more than 10,000 men to beat 10 of you, then you must be doing something wrong. This quote is an example of Genghis Khan's military genius. He understood the importance of overwhelming force, and he never gave his enemies the benefit of the doubt. When facing a superior enemy, Genghis Khan would always try to find a way to level the playing field. He would use tricks, deception, and sheer determination to outmaneuver his opponents and achieve victory. 2. No mercy for those who show us no mercy. This quote perfectly captures the ruthless nature of Genghis Khan and the Mongol Empire. They believed in the concept of total war and showed no mercy to their enemies. Men, women, and children were all fair game for the Mongols. They pillaged villages, raped women, and slaughtered anyone who stood in their way. The Mongols believed that they were on a mission from God to conquer the world, and they didn't care who they had to kill in order to do it. 3. Whenever possible, let your enemies exhaust themselves. Amass all your forces and take advantage of their least capability. This quote is another example of Genghis Khan's military brilliance. He knew that the best way to defeat a powerful enemy was to let them tire themselves out first. By biding his time and waiting for the right moment, Genghis Khan was able to catch his enemies off guard and defeat them when they were at their weakest. He was also a master of psychological warfare, and he used this tactic to great effect. Knowing that his enemies were exhausted, Genghis Khan would often taunt them before a battle, telling them that they were about to be defeated. This would only serve to further weaken his enemies and make them even more vulnerable to attack. 4. A queen without a king is only a princess. This quote reveals the misogynistic and patriarchal nature of Genghis Khan and the Mongol Empire. Women were seen as property and were often used as bargaining chips in political negotiations. Genghis Khan himself had many wives and concubines, and he was known for his sexual prowess. However, he also had a dark side and was accused of raping women as young as 10 years old. The Mongol Empire was built on the backs of slaves, and women were particularly vulnerable to the whims of the conquerors. But it is also very important to note the Mongol warrior culture of the time. and the nuances involved between both sexes. We can also hear some accounts that Mongol women often had more freedom, could own property, serve in religious roles, and even act as political advisors, as Temujin's own mother played a very central role in crafting the future leader. What can we learn from him? Despite his brutality, there are a few things that we can learn from Genghis Khan. First, he was a brilliant military strategist and leader. He was able to unite the nomadic tribes of Mongolia under his banner and go on to conquer much of Asia and Eastern Europe. Second, he was a master of propaganda and public relations. He understood the importance of presenting himself as a great conqueror, and he used this image to his advantage. Third, he was a ruthless and efficient killer. He showed no mercy to his enemies and was willing to do whatever it took to defeat them. Finally, he was a product of his environment. He grew up in a harsh and unforgiving world, and this shaped him into the dark sort of folk hero and legend that we know today. Thank you for watching, and remember, you can live your life like the leaders you admire, adopting the good, learning from the bad, and taking into account the cultural nuances, while having the awareness to differentiate fact from fantasy.